he proposed to me on New Year's Eve with my parents, and I felt very pressured.
Oh yeah, you're not saying no to that. You trying to ruin lives out here.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about?
I literally landed 2 weeks later. I got off the tarmac. He shows up. It's so awkward. My stomach's in a knot. And I didn't even get in the car, Jeff. And he's like, here are the divorce papers.
Well, there it is. Okay.
And I was like, so literally it was a hug, awkward moment, divorce papers.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jeff Damisse. Welcome to the Introspect Club, a club where you can learn a lot about yourself through conversations with other people. Today, I have a very special guest. The topic of today is dating or marriage after a divorce. Now, the reason why this topic is particularly important to me, for those who know me, I come from divorced parents. Many of you guys come from divorced parents. It's an epidemic or pandemic, however you want to call it, right? Many people go through this. It wasn't necessarily a hard experience for me growing up with divorced parents, but it's one of those things where you have to be mindful of the subconscious things that you learn while being in that environment and how that affects how you date in the future, how you relate to other people, and your perception of relationships as a whole. So I brought someone to this conversation that will be a perfect candidate because they've seen it all, they've experienced it all, and they've also coached other people in the same realm. And I'm very, very, very honored and humbled to be in the presence of one of my very favorite people. You might have seen her on some of my IG lives. We crack each other up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, Michelle G. Welcome.
Hey, thanks so much, Jeff, for having me.
What's up? How you doing, love? How you doing? You look good.
You look good. I'm good. Just chilling. Excited for this conversation. Very much needed.
Yes, it is.
Especially post the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of post-pandemic relationship endings. But yeah, no, I'm very excited to be on this conversation with you, and I think you'll be able to contribute a lot to this conversation. So, as we get started, I want you to give like everybody like a little bit of a background of yourself, like maybe 30, 45 seconds, however you think is necessary to like give a brief understanding of who you are, what you do, and we'll get to it. Talk to me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, my name is Michelle G. I am a TV host, matchmaker, relationship expert, and also a best-selling author. Prior to that, I served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 13 years. The best way I could describe it is I was a spy, and I got to do some really cool stuff and meet a lot of amazing people, travel around the world. And part of my travels also led me to building a lot of relationships throughout my lifetime. And I took those skills and decided to start my own company, which is called Incredible Love, to help people find and keep healthy and amazing, incredible relationships.
Right on. Wait, so let me get this straight. You were a spy.
Yeah, that was a lifetime ago.
No, because that kind of stuck with me in my head. I'm like matchmaker / love coach and TV producer, former spy. Like that's just one of those paths to life that no one really gets to explain. But anyway, I respect it. And I thank you for your service in a lot of ways. So, but with that being said, I want to get to the topic at hand, right? So a lot of people have gone through divorce, gone through separation, and they also struggle to re-enter the world of romance, right? And I would say that you're particularly an expert in it in a lot of ways because of pragmatically you've experienced it yourself, and you've also coached and helped people who also experience it. So walk me through a little bit of what you think it's like out there for many people who date or pursue relationships after a divorce. What goes through someone's mind?
Man, that is such a loaded question. Let me just start with that, because there's so many different things. You have the after effects, or maybe currently still going through the effects of the relationship that's ending. So you're kind of getting used to having your own space back, recreating or re-getting in touch with your own identity.
Right. Fair enough.
Then you also have like, oh my God, now I'm single. I got to go back out there. And am I going to find someone? What did I do wrong in this relationship? No, I didn't do it. It's all his fault. Wait, is it all my fault? And it's just like this jambalaya of emotions.
Jambalaya. Now I'm starving.
But honestly, it's just really like, if I could describe it, it's like a really great dish that just has so many ingredients and so rich, because at that moment you're really just, it's a whirlwind, right? And you don't even know, you can't keep your head on straight, and you don't even know really if the floor underneath you is really solid. That's kind of how it feels when you're like going through the divorce and thinking about what's next.
You know what's crazy? That's the same feeling people have when they're in love. I can't feel the floor underneath me. I'm floating. Like, so how does that mirror what you went through? So walk me through like what your experience was like and how you got, like how you navigated around it, so we can get a feel for like your personal feelings about it.
Yeah. So what comes up to mind is, I'll tell you the day that my ex-husband and I walked into the mediation office. So I was very grateful that we were able to at least not involve lawyers.
Wait, before you get to that,
yeah,
I want you to walk me through like when you got married, what drew you to want to be married, and how you transitioned from marriage to divorce, right? Because I think that's the path that people need to understand, because again, no sane person, in my opinion, signs up for marriage.
Nobody gets married to get divorced.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But I need to understand, me personally, what is the path to getting in a mindset where you want to get divorced when you filled your aspirations to be married prior to that. So walk me through it.
Well, if to be honest, I think there's something else that I have shared, and nobody's really asked me that part of the story. So I'm going to share. This will be probably maybe the second time in my life that I share.
Ooh.
And it is, so you're getting the deets. You're getting the goods, Jeff.
I feel special.
Me and my ex-husband, we'll just call him Jay. Me and Jay.
Damn, I feel like you're talking about me.
Well, his name does start with the J.
Okay, fair enough.
So myself and Jay, we met during my time in service. So we met in the Marine Corps. And at the time that I met him, I had recently ended a different relationship, and he was interested in pursuing me.
Sure.
And I was not interested in being involved in a relationship.
Because you're a hot commodity out here in these streets.
Oh, God,
that's all I'm saying.
I mean, no. But so it was kind of like he was very persistent. He was a really great guy. I was not in a space to have a relationship, and he was all about wanting to have a relationship. That is really important because it plays fast forward into he was very persistent, and I got to a place where I had some bad experiences, and I was like, you know what? He's a really great guy to me. At the time, I was taking care of my youngest brother. I had custody of him.
Oh, wow.
And he also was supporting and being part of my brother's life, even though we were just dating.
Right.
So he really came in and he really showed up. And I at this point in my life, my career's going really well. It's the natural next step, right? To go into a relationship, to get married. I'm Latina. There are expectations of me. Or, like, hey, get married, have kids. You got the career. Like, okay, keep moving it along.
Yeah.
And so first he proposed to me on New Year's Eve with my parents. And I felt very pressured.
Oh, yeah. You're not saying no to that. You trying to ruin lives out here.
Yeah.
Like, what we talking about?
Yeah. He was an amazing person, a really great friend. And if I was to say something post this divorce, the one thing, and my current husband knows this, the one thing is that I miss that friendship that I had with him, because we were really good friends. And I think that we should have just stayed friends. But that being said, everything that he did for me felt kind of like it was a motive to get me to that place. And I willingly, because I can't blame him, I willingly said yes.
How old were you?
I was 24.
Okay.
I was 24, so like my mom, I come from a divorced family as well. My mom had me when she was 18. You know what I mean? So there was like all these different things that were playing that it was kind of like, okay, at least I'm not 18. I have a career. I'm going to school. I have my place. I guess it's the natural next thing to get married. And so he proposed to me on a New Year's, which with my family there, I kind of felt pressured, and I was like, okay, yes. Like, I guess we're going to do this. You know what? You've been great. You've been supportive. Let's do this.
Right.
We ended up just doing the wedding, and even on the wedding, oh my God. So Hurricane Rita came through before we were going to get married and destroyed our wedding venue.
Yo, that's a sign. Like, okay, just get out of Dodge.
Shit, it's a sign.
Get out of Dodge. All right. I'm not into like premonitions, but like that's how scary movies start. Okay. Like,
yeah. I mean, there was all these things, but you know what? I was like, I had just got back from a deployment because I was in Iraq. I came back and I was like, look, it's just the world is crazy right now. These things happen. And I kind of took the attitude that I take in different scenarios when I was in the service. And that is, shit happens, you just regroup and replan. And that was kind of my mode. Like, okay, we're just going to find a new venue. We'll do this. And we did it. We got married. I was always afraid because I was always really honest with him that I wasn't in a space where I wanted to, sure if I wanted to have a family. And that was one of my conditions that I said to him. I was like, I don't want any pressure about wanting to have a family because it's not something that I grew up wanting.
Okay.
But for you, it's really important. And I want to make sure you're okay with us getting married and knowing that there is a 70% chance that I'm not going to want to have kids.
Wow.
And he said, I'm okay. So I was really honest and transparent about it. It's not like I didn't share that with him. And I've always shared that with him when we were married, when we were dating.
Okay.
Long story short, we go through the wedding. And it's a honeymoon period, right? It's great. It's new. It's like, oh my God, like he's just there for me. He's amazing. He's supporting. We had a great honeymoon. And then real life starts to happen. Real life meaning we're both Marines. Yeah. We both have full-time jobs. We both have very demanding hours of our schedule. And so life begins to take over. I start traveling a lot for my job. He has to take care of some things for his work. And then there's the pressure of like, when are you guys going to have kids? When are you guys going to have kids? And I think what I know now that happened with that relationship was I always valued his friendship, but we were not aligned in our core values, like the things that were really important to us. Yeah. We had conversations around those things, but we didn't really, we kind of left it like, oh, okay, I think we'll figure it out as we go. Yeah. And I guess and I would say now, like, that's what I learned going back into the dating world. And then finally meeting my current husband is having all those conversations around those things that I know were the things that destroyed my first relationship or my first marriage.
Wow. So that sparked the conversation of divorce, and now you're in the divorce, right? Because
Now I'm in
clearly
the
you guys
divorce.
aren't aligned, right? So
Yeah.
walk me through that process and what are some of the things that stand out in that process that a lot of people don't really think about or take into consideration.
Yeah, if for anyone who's listening, if like you spent any time apart with someone that you're involved with, dating, or if you're married, and all of a sudden you begin to notice both of you are not starting to call one another. There's being time periods where you're not really talking. It's kind of like a touch and go, and it turns into like a roommate situation. That's when it began. Like, that's when the conversation sparked of like, hey, this isn't really working between us. We're not in a good space. So what ended up happening was I was in Korea at the time. And I remember it was 4:00 in the afternoon, Korea time. And I can't remember, it was like nighttime in the States, I think. And I called him and I said, listen, at that point, we hadn't talked for like 2 weeks. Okay. I was really busy with work. I was really avoiding it because I didn't know how I was going to say it. And I just said to him, I said, look, we haven't talked in 2 weeks. Things have been really rocky between us. I know that you know this. We can't pretend anymore. We've done marriage counseling. We've done retreats. We've even lived in separate homes to try and rekindle our marriage, moved back in together, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I think we're at a point where we just have to be honest with ourselves and say, like, it's time to move on. And I don't want to say it, but I want to let you know that I think our best option is a divorce.
How long into the marriage were you?
It was 5.5 years.
Okay, got it.
It was 5.5 years. And he was really silent when I said it. He was kind of, it's almost like he couldn't believe that I had said that, but he agreed. Oh. And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to be home for another couple of weeks. So I'll stay in touch and we can begin to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to say that. Whoever the person is that is about to end that relationship, first off, both of you get hurt. Both of us are hurt. The person who doesn't want to hurt the other person, and then the person who's receiving this news that says, crap, my relationship's over.
Yeah. That's wild.
So it was a wild ride. So now here I am, find myself like, I can't believe I just said that. I start to cry. I call my mom, I call my best friend, I call I think I called not my sister. I think I called another girlfriend of mine, and I'm just bawling. And they're just like, Michelle, if this is what's right for you, that's what's right for you. You have to do what's right for you. And so I kind of just, I literally threw myself at work. Those 2 weeks, I think I had like 3 periods where I just worked for like 2 days in a row straight. Like that's how I just threw myself into work.
You're trying to escape the reality of your life.
Well, I'm about to get on a plane in 2 weeks to be able to face this man. And before I saw him, just a couple months ago, like we were together, we had kissed each other. We had, you know what I mean? Like we were in a relationship.
Wow.
So it was hard. It was really hard. I'll tell you what, though, he didn't waste any time. I literally landed 2 weeks later. I got off the tarmac. He shows up. It's so awkward. My stomach's in a knot. And I'm like feeling like I'm going to throw up because I don't know whether should I hug him? Do I shake his hand? Like, what is the protocol here?
Yeah.
Right? We still live in the same house together, right? My stuff is still there.
Yeah.
He's picking me up. So I see him and I'm like, hey. And he's like, hi. And he's also trying to figure this out. So I was just like, I gave him a hug. And I was like, hi, thanks for coming to get me.
Hi.
Exactly. It was hard. It's like, okay, and I was like, just taking a deep breath in. He grabbed my stuff. Oh no, he didn't even grab my stuff. Honestly, I had my Marines who were with me and they were helping me transport gear, move things around. And I didn't even get in the car, Jeff. And he's like, here are the divorce papers.
Well, there it is. Okay.
And I was like, so literally it was a hug, awkward moment, divorce papers. I didn't even grab my bags yet. And it was hard because I'm like, I know that he was only doing that to hurt me because he was hurt.
Oh, damn.
I know that, I know that now. In that moment, Michelle didn't realize that. And Michelle just wanted to scream and just I literally just wanted to scream. I literally just got off a plane coming from Southeast Asia, long flight. I'm in uniform. I'm exhausted. And you choose that moment to serve me divorce papers. And then on top of that, my crew was there.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? It was really embarrassing. And I felt powerless. It was one of the moments. And naturally, when a person feels powerless, what we tend to do is either we shut down, which is one of the things that happened in our relationship. I began shutting down or stonewalling, as they say.
Okay.
Instead of actually expressing what I'm feeling, I would just shut down. And that's what I did in that moment because I was embarrassed. Long story short, we get to the house. I'm there. I take a shower. I'm crying. He's downstairs. He's on the couch. The dog is coming up and down because it's excited to see me.
Yeah.
I turn on the shower faucet. I grab my phone. I call my best friend and I'm like, I can't stay here.
Yeah.
I need you. I need a place. And she's like, I'm coming to get you.
Yeah. Damn, that's tough. That's tough. So
that was it.
Ultimately, you guys got divorced, and I'm hoping it was amicable in the whole process.
At first, it wasn't. It never is at first.
Okay.
It's very few instances where two people are able to just literally sit down. And I think maturity, age, as well as how the relationship was, right?
Yeah.
How did you guys fight in the relationship or when you had arguments comes into play. At first it wasn't, at first we were both upset. He was being unreasonable about some things. And I was just like, okay, forget it. I can't. I'm, I did what I do best. I'm like, I'm going to retreat because I don't want to say something that's just going to cause more problems.
Okay.
And then finally we were able to come together, have a conversation about our assets, our goods. And we both said, look, I don't want to involve a lawyer. We don't need to involve a lawyer. It's not like we have a house. That's the biggest asset we have and our investments. We can figure this out. And he was reasonable. At that point, he was reasonable. He became more friendly. I think part of it was because I think he wanted for us to try again. And I wanted to keep the peace. And I said to him on many occasions, I don't want to try again, but I don't want to be mean. There's no reason for us to be mean to one another.
Okay.
Finally, we go through a mediation process.
Okay.
And I got divorced in California. So California is a 50-50 state. Everything typically gets split down the middle.
Okay.
Did not know that. Had to know that.
Wait,
what is the divorce there?
Wait, why was that a problem for you?
Well, 50-50 because if there were some investments where if it was investments that I put in majority of the money, I would still have to split it with him. Or if it was my personal investment, assets are just equal across the board. So do you
feel as though you gave up more in that divorce because of the 50?
I did.
Yo, you know what it is? It's I'm always fascinated by I don't know. I'm always fascinated by I've always said that marriage and divorce is not a sexist entity, right?
No.
It's the people that navigate within it that might be, right? But so if you're a high earning individual, whether you're a man or a woman, you are facing the same consequences, right? And a lot of people don't really know that. Right? They don't. And given your experience, and I'm glad you shed light on it, and you being aware of that, I would imagine you, and we'll probably get into it, but you probably would have taken a different approach given what you learned about how marriage affects your finances if it doesn't work out, and how the legal system views your union as a whole, right? So,
and that's dependent on the state again, because some states it's whatever you came in, then you walk away with.
Yeah. So everybody, Google your state before you sign that
Before you say yes to the divorce, you say yes to the trust. Now think about where you say yes.
When you get proposed to, before you say yes, say what state. I mean, that's important to know. I got to get more information on that because, every state's got different things going on. Mm-hmm. All right, so you're divorced, right? After this, right?
Yeah.
All this goes on. Now, you decide you want to re-enter like the romance space, right?
I want to find love again.
The crazy world of like, however you want to look at it. So what is it like transitioning from, I just got through a situation that didn't end well. What's your motivation to try again?
Well, I think our motivations instinctively is we want connection. We don't like to be alone. Right. Whether you're an introvert and you love to have a lot of alone time, at some point you still need there is a sense of you that needs direction. That needs connection. Yeah. Even introverts need connection. For me, I'm an extrovert. So one of the things that I did that I wanted to make sure was that I was really honest with myself and with him as to why our marriage ended. And I was able to have that closure type of conversation. And I want to bring that up before I kind of go into how that contributed to me wanting to be involved and find love again. Because what ended up happening was when things were said and done, before we even got the final papers, there was an opportunity where Jay and I were able to literally sit down and have a conversation about who's taking the house and who's taking the dog, and why didn't this work out, and why were you like this, and why did you react that way? And I feel that the way that a relationship, how me or how every individual contributes to the ending of a relationship really does affect how you view love going forward.
Yep.
Being able for us to talk about the things that we were never able to say as a couple really helped me learn more about myself and what I needed to do to be a better partner, right? And the things that I was really good at that he appreciated, but maybe he didn't say them as much, or the things that I really appreciated about him that I never really said to him. And so that allowed me to look at love as not something like, oh, love only hurts. No, I was a contributing member in why that relationship didn't work. And if I can be better, then that means I can have a better relationship.
And who asked for that closure conversation? Was that you or him?
It wasn't, I don't think either. I initiated it, but It wasn't like I wanted to have that conversation. We found ourselves talking about the last pieces of assets that we had to distribute between us. And so we were in the mediator's office and we're having that conversation, and it just presented itself. It opened it up to where we were
talking like this in front of the mediators. Like
no. So the mediator gives you a space. Like once you go over certain thing, once you go over the sheets and what you have to fill out, they give you space so you can have that conversation privately. Yeah. Because we don't have lawyers. We agreed that we would do it amongst ourselves. Okay. And so in that space that we had, we're sitting across from one another. You know what I mean? And just we're talking, and the conversation just went there because I said to him, I said, look, what part of the reason that I know that this is ending is we want different things. And I want you to be happy. I want you to meet a beautiful woman and have amazing children, have that family that you hold so close to you. For me, I have a different vision of how I want my life to play out. So, and I think that by me saying that, it was what really allowed us to like
move forward,
accept that this is over, but be able to say, look, this is the parts that weren't the greatest of our marriage. And this is what you did that hurt me.
Yeah.
And, so we cried. We cried a lot. I think it was the third time since I known him, and I had known him for a long time, that I saw that emotion from him. And so on that note, I I decided to take some time for myself before I really kind of started dating again, because I needed to soak that in.
Yeah.
I needed to know the things that I was not good at. And I needed to look at those shadow parts, as some of my clients call them, like shadow parts of ourselves, to be able to say, okay, I may not sometimes be the great communicator I think I am. Or wait, I may not be great at explaining certain things. Or, you know, what are the fallacies that I have in my mind about, I think my partner knows me and they're supposed to know when I change in certain areas. So it was a really interesting experience. And then what ended up happening was, of course, right?
Yeah.
You have time for yourself, and then your girlfriends call you up and you're like, hey, let's go out dancing.
We twerking tonight. We twerking. Yo, Daddy Yankee performing.
It's like, you know, let's go out, you know what, whatever, it's been a tough week, we gotta celebrate. And I'm like, what are we celebrating? Because being single again is not that it's a bad thing, but it's like, I just literally
How soon
had
after?
a really heartfelt conversation. They're like, you can't stay there.
How soon after?
So we had this conversation, and it probably was 7 months afterwards that I finally.
So 6-7 months. That's when your friends want to go out.
No, my friends wanted to go out. Yes, but that was when I was like, okay, fine, let's go out. I had this conversation 3 weeks before we got. No, 4 weeks. Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks. I want to say is the window before we got our final divorce papers. So once I got the final divorce papers, we already had that conversation. I kind of just went off the grid. Yeah. Remember, I went to stay with my best friend, and I was just like,
I know, but how long had you been separated, aside from the papers? How long had you been separated from your previous husband before you are going out, twerking on the table and stuff?
I'd say probably close to a year, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Probably close to a year, because everything in California, you have to wait 6 months before you can officially get divorced.
Got it.
And then before that, I was in Korea. So I'd say probably about close to a year.
Okay. It wasn't like a quick turnaround.
It wasn't like
you signing papers, you twerking while you signing papers, you just you know, like, because if you would have said that, I'd be like, yo, she was ready to go. She was ready to go.
No. Okay, listen, just because I didn't go out to a club didn't mean that I didn't go out to lounges and hang out with my girls and stuff. But
lounges, we call it. That's what you kids are calling it these days? You went to lounges? Got it.
Chill lounges. That's where adults go.
Sure. All I heard was the word adult. Lounges.
So I went out, and then it was that one conversation. And my girlfriend's like, you know what? You got your papers. And I'm like, dude, like, this is hard. She's like, no, we are going out. We went out to this place in San Diego. It's a salsa club. And we went, and it was like really the first time I had gotten like really dolled up. Like all the other times I got out, I was jeans and a cute shirt. And like,
right.
I kind of had that like, don't talk to me face. Like, resting bitch face.
Yeah, I know that face. Love that face. Yeah. Bring that face.
Why?
Because I have a resting asshole face. Anyway, carry on.
So anyways, I got dressed and everything.
Actually,
and it was
real talk. I actually do like, not that I like the resting bitch face, but like,
it makes it challenging or something for you?
No, you know what it is? Because I've spoken to women with the resting bitch face. And I find it intriguing when I break them down to like their happy selves after, or when I'm initiating conversation. In the middle of conversation, I'm like, you're not even a horrible person. So stop presenting yourself like one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they're just like, anyway, that's just.
Maybe they just went through a divorce or a breakup.
Oh, well, there's that. Sorry, ladies. Apparently I can't read the clues.
No, so we went out. It was the first night that a couple people hit on me, and I was like,
a couple people. How about the whole bar?
The whole bar did not hit on me. No. It was just a
Here
couple
she
guys,
comes,
and it was nice.
Lady in red. You listen, first of all, you got all dolled up and you're like, I don't know. Everybody just wants to talk to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I twerk on the bar.
I'm a salsa dancing, so there is no twerking in salsa.
Twerk on a bar. Listen, what is salsa? Salsa is twerking with guidance. Okay? That's what it is. All right.
Listen.
Like, come on, twerking with a partner. Coordinated twerking. Elegant twerking. All right, let's be real here. So you went out, you experienced being single, right? You're back on the market, you're back on the prowl. So like when you got married at 20, how old were you? You got married at 24?
Mm-hmm.
You got married at 24, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you were married for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you're approaching your 30s, I'm assuming you were 30 by the time you got divorced.
No, well, I was single, yeah. And then I ended up meeting my husband, when I was in my 30s. So
when you're in your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
But you started dating again in your 30s after you got divorced, right? And in the process of doing that, were you dating online? Were you like going out? Like, what does that look like? You cracking up because I smell ratchetry. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
That's what you smell.
Oh my God. I can't even, I'm at the edge of my seat with this one. So what is that? So what is that giggle for? Talk to me.
All of the above. I dated through online dating. I went out with my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Every opportunity, every weekend there was something going on. Parties, barbecues, whatever it was.
She wasn't on a date every week with a new candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lie. It's not, there's nothing, listen, you're single. You do your thing.
Listen, it's not that. It's just that I think when you hear that, people immediately assume, or I would say what has happened to me is people assume, because this happened to me at my job.
What?
People began to assume that I was sleeping with all these people I was dating.
No.
And I'm like, no.
No, what I mean is you were playing your options. You were exercising your options in whatever way that may be. Meaning people were interested in you. You were taken out on dates, or you went out, you hung out, partied with people, and you were accepting of your singleness.
Accepting of my singleness.
Yes. So was that hard for you? Or was that an easy transition?
It was a hard transition because first off, why do you think it took me so long to actually like go out, get rolled up and remember how it is to interact with a stranger? What was the most awkward?
What was the most awkward like situation?
Oh my gosh.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
No. A guy.
I'm not healed.
Okay, so a guy asked me, he's like, wow, I see you here with your girlfriend. You guys are really beautiful. So tell me, what is it that you do? And I'm like, because in my head, I'm thinking, do I tell this guy that I'm a Marine? Do I tell him that I'm a spy? No, I don't tell him that. Do I tell him that I just do admin work? Like,
what?
What do I tell him?
That's a lot of pivoting here. I don't understand what's the problem.
Well, no, because it's like guys react a certain way when you tell them, oh, you're a Marine. Believe it or not, guys kind of have this like, because I look very feminine. They have this idea that because you're a Marine, like you should be really butchy and like, and I'm very feminine. And so it's kind of like you know what I mean? It's the reaction. And then they kind of like, it just goes into a lane that I don't want to like talk about.
So
like,
you'd rather say you're a receptionist?
I'd rather just have said like, so here's what I would say. I'd be like, weird. Oh, I work for the government. That's what I would say. I work for the government.
Even in that, like, I don't know. The thing is, like, if you are a Marine, like, own it, right? In my opinion, that's what it is. That's me. But I just feel as though, like, when you say you work for the government, right? Like, of course, you can say whatever you want, but it stems from you not wanting to really expose this part of your life that is a big part of your life, right?
Absolutely, but you got to remember, I'm not talking to other military guys. I'm talking to other guys I work at a bank. I work at some of the guys I interacted, I work at a bank, or I do consulting, or, hey, I'm in real estate, right? And it's like, okay, that's great. Like, I just kept it, and I just knew
at some point, they're going to have to know that you are or were in the military. Like, they're going to have to know. So
social media didn't really exist. So I wasn't posting.
So you were just all cap. You were just out here capping in these streets, right? That's what I'm hearing. Okay. Social media didn't exist. So I could just say whatever I want.
Exactly. And I didn't have to give explanations. It's just my experience was a lot of guys just felt, I don't know if it was intimidated. I don't know if they felt uncomfortable. I don't really know what perception, but it was always this like, oh, like something didn't click for them. And it's like, I almost had to prove to them, well, yeah, I'm ready. Like, show them my ID card. And then I have to show like my name. Like, that was the whole thing I didn't want to deal with.
Okay. Fair enough.
And Jeff, I'm like 5 feet.
Okay. Are you 5 feet?
I'm a tiny.
You're 5 foot even?
I'm 5 foot even.
Oh, wow. Okay. Fair enough.
So I'm tiny. I'm very petite. So it just doesn't, it's like, huh? And I'm not like, like, I was very trim. I'm very trim.
Okay.
But I don't have that look.
Like what? Broad shoulders? A machine gun? That's the look I'm looking at. You don't look like, well, Tomb Raider.
G.I. Jane.
I was thinking Tomb Raider. She's not even.
Yeah, I don't look like Tomb Raider, And yeah. Anyways.
That's my nerd side coming out.
I see
that. All right, so you're out in these streets.
I'm out in these streets.
You're out in these
online dating in these streets.
So wait, okay, so online dating, like what is on, because I don't know what year this was. I'm not doing
Match.com.
So Match.com. That's not today's online dating. I don't even know if Match.com is still like in existence, but like
it is. It's just they're catering to a different market, an older seasoned market.
Fair enough. Sooner or later, Tinder will be catering to the older market because that's what they know, right? So you're online dating, right? Were you experiencing the same things? Because I'm fascinated, right? People who dated online prior to the revolution of current, I call it the fast match era, right? Where it's just like your thumb will dictate how well you get laid. So now you're dating in that particular environment online. What does that look like compared to now? Is that better or worse? What are we talking about?
I would say, I don't think it's better or worse. What I would say more is that my experience was, it was still kind of taboo. This is like 2009, like 2009, this is this was early 2000s, like getting ready to cross into 2000s. Like it was just, it was just different in that sense that it was like still taboo. Like I remember telling a couple of my friends at work, hey, I signed up for Match.com, and they're like, what? Like, you're too pretty for that. Like, that's only for like losers. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's just a different way to date. Like, try it out. It's kind of cool. I don't have to, if I don't want to talk to him, I don't have to talk to him. Or I just tell him I'm not interested and he goes away. It's not like when you're out and about and he doesn't go away. He doesn't get that in.
Hey, I bought you that drink. Why won't you stick around? I got you another one. You wanted
rule number
peach,
one,
right?
You don't let a guy buy you a drink if you don't see it being poured yourself. That's rule number one.
Okay, first of all, that we just went left.
I'm just saying. My
rule is, this is gonna sound crazy to probably most. When I go out, right? Mm-hmm. I don't buy women drinks.
I knew you were gonna say that.
How do you know? Why would you say that?
Because I've heard that a couple of times, and they always preface that with like, it's not because it's not popular, and it's not because I'm cheap. When I talk to clients, that's what they say. They're like, it's not that. It's just that I don't buy women drinks just because I want to really engage with them and get to know them and talk to them. Then they get all liquored up and they go off with someone else. These are the things I have heard.
Who gets liquored up and goes off with someone else?
The girl that they buy the drink for.
Good for them. I mean, that's not. I'm not even worried about that. I'm saying I don't buy women drinks at the bar, specifically strangers, right? I don't go to the bar I've had instances where I'll buy a guy a drink because we just chopping it up. Like, yo, next round's on me, stuff like that, right? There's no ulterior motive. Like, I'm not trying to take this guy home. I'm not whatever, right? Even if I meet a woman, like, even though I might not have the intention of trying to take you home tonight or whatever, or even ever, right? And I'll engage in a conversation. I just feel like if I buy you a drink, it triggers this presumption of, okay, he's trying to win my favor, so he's spending a little money. Like, I don't like that dynamic to a stranger that I don't even know if I like you, and I'm already feeding you beverages. That's just weird to me. You know what I mean? Now, what I've had happen is I'll meet someone while I'm out, and if for some reason we end up talking for like an extended period of time, and I might be in the mood for a drink, and I'd be like, I'm gonna order something. What do you want? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But I'm not like, hey, can I buy you a beverage? Because apparently you didn't bring your purse tonight. Like, what? We're not doing that here. Like, no, I can't be that guy. And I don't think I've ever been that guy, which is like, it's not one of those things where like I had a bad experience. It just never made sense to me. You know what I mean? But
okay. All right.
But that's me.
So online dating, that was my experience. Like, I just told everybody thought I was crazy for doing it. I didn't think so. I was kind of curious to kind of see what it was like. And what I did find is you have the same thing. You have some people who never respond.
Yeah.
You have some people who respond a couple of days later.
Yep.
I definitely was engaging with, there was this one guy that we even set up the date and he didn't even show up for the date.
Catfish.
You know what I'm saying? So is it better? Is it worse? Listen, I hear the same things today from clients and other people who are dating as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, okay. Yeah. So you're going through the whole online process and you're experiencing all of that. Like, you went from being in a relationship that I don't think you wanted to be in, to be honest with you, because when you're proposing to someone at a New Year's Eve with all the drinks and excitement, and then out parents, I was never a fan of, like, I don't know. I think, to me, surprise. First of all, I don't think there's such thing as a real surprise engagement. Right? I think the modern couple have had the discussion, like, if you're doing it right, you've had the discussion and there's mutual interest in wanting to take that step. That next step. Right? Yeah. But if you're just a guy, you just willy-nilly, like, I feel like owning this person's last name. Right? Like, I just feel like it. Let me just do this gesture. And the expectation is, she's going to say yes, because ultimately, like, it's kind of taboo to say no to someone, especially when you got other peers in front of, right? And it's kind of like, I feel like it's entrapment, in my opinion, right? But maybe that's exactly how it felt. Yes. Exactly how it felt. Yeah. So to me, like, any guy that proposes, I don't want to say any, but in my opinion, many guys who propose and the woman said yes, there's a chance that she had already hinted that she wanted this to begin with, or this was her idea and he was following through with the gesture of, and she gets to go, ooh, oh my God, oh, I can't, I was just hanging out and this ring came out. It's so weird. Like, no, lady, your Pinterest is popping right now. Yeah. So don't even give me that nonsense. All right. So with your experience, like, is it weird? Like, one time I was watching a series of videos on YouTube. This is just out of sheer boredom, right? I looked up wedding proposal rejections. I look up weird stuff online. Like, when I say weird, like, things that, like, are, like, you don't expect. Like, I look up, like, weird, like boats crashing into docks, like, stupid stuff. Catastrophic stuff. It sounds like. I don't know why. Like, I want to see, like, because I know the world's not perfect. So I want to see the instances of like where something's just not going right. Just so, because I used to ride motorcycles, right? I used to ride motorcycles, and I used to always watch videos of motorcycle crashes, just so I can take it. Just so I can just because I can, so I can take it seriously, right?
Yeah.
I often, sometimes I race my car, right? At you know, on the racetrack.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So I look up like car crashes, like on a racetrack, because when you don't see. When you don't see what could happen, when you don't see the realities of life and some of the nuances of how things could go well and wrong, you're gonna live in this bubble. So I'm very intentional about making sure I see all sides of things. That's just how my mind works, right? So when it came to the whole proposal thing, when you said that, you know, he proposed during New Year's, I'm just like, I've seen this on a video before. That's why I was like,
that did not go well.
That's not gonna go well. It's either not gonna go well right then and there or 5 years later. Like, damn. Okay, so all right, so you dated online. So my question is like, what did you do different? What did you do different now that you're in a new marriage relationship? Like,
married.
Give me a brief understanding of like. I mean, I know you're married. I'm still calling it a relationship because ultimately that's what it is, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what did you do different, and what did you learn from your original experience that contributed to the success of your current marriage?
Yeah, well, we've been married now, getting ready to hit 8 years.
Ooh, so right on.
Thank you. One of the things I will say is, my ex-husband was younger. My current husband is older.
What does that mean?
Well, just maturity.
How old did you get? How old was he when he got married? Your earlier husband.
He was 2 years younger than me, and
so he was 22.
Yeah.
I mean, all right. Yeah, okay.
He was 2 years. Yeah, he was 2 years younger than me. I think something too, like your upbringing has a lot to do with when you feel marriage is right. And he came from the Midwest. Okay. You know what I mean? He's seen his that was like, he comes from a very family town, very like, you get married young, all that. That's his kind of like the whole white pig, like that's
like girl next door, get married right after high school life. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of where he came from. You know what I mean? Like that's what he saw growing up. So one thing to answer your question, like what was it that made it different and what changed was the age was really important to me. Like I wanted to date someone who was, you know, they could be my age or a little bit older, because I felt that just the depths of conversation and the goals to talk about were really different than and where he grew up, right? So my husband grew up in Puerto Rico. My current husband, he grew up in Puerto Rico, but he was a very ambitious person. You know, he's just really ambitious. So for me, it was really important to make sure that we were able to have conversations of depth. And even if we disagreed on them, that we would still be able to end the conversation without it turning into like,
got it.
Well, you know, that's
it was you're able to like maturely disagree.
Yeah,
right. So,
absolutely, that was huge.
Now, but was that a conscious like pursuit on your end, or it just So you were like, you better be able to talk right, otherwise this ain't going down. Right.
Listen, I didn't have to say it. I have a way of just asking some very intentional questions.
Oh, is that right? Like, I've seen you ask me some. I know.
Because I wanted to I was like, you know what? First off, the way my last marriage ended and everything that we did to repair it, I felt like while it was meant to help us regroup, what it really did was it highlighted so much our differences, which was a great thing, right? But it didn't give us the right tools to be able to take those differences and really be able to say, do we accept those differences of one another? So for me, that was really important when I was dating. Like I would ask really intentional questions of like, what do you think about therapy? You know, like, what are your, like, that would be a question I would ask, because I wanted to know, how does this person feel about talking about their feelings and being introspective of who they are and what they bring to the table.
You heard that, folks?
I get brownie points for that one.
Coins.
That was really important to me. The other thing that was super important to me was children. I don't have children. Now that I'm getting ready to I'm in my 40s, like, I now have the desire to want to be a parent, like, I'm with the right partner who wants that.
I'm confused. I'm confused because when you were in your 20s, early 30s, you didn't want kids.
No.
So I need to ask you, right?
Yeah.
What was your reasons for not wanting kids?
Okay, so let me finish what I was going to say, and I'll answer that question.
Okay.
When I met my current husband, I needed to be with someone, and what was really important was a person who was understanding that 70% of me probably will not want to have a family, but there may be this 30% where my life may change, and my feeling and my desire, and as I go through my own personal development, my own, I may want children, right? And that was really important to me. So in my 20s and my 30s, I didn't want kids. I came from a broken home, a home where I saw my mom. She was a single mom, raised 3 kids on her own. It was really difficult. There was just, it was just a lot that happened. And some of that responsibility, because I was the oldest, fell upon me to take care of my siblings. And in some sense, I felt like I did my duty of having children. Like, I wanted to live my own life. Got it. You know, so because of that responsibility, I kind of was like, you know what? I don't want kids. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Like,
because you've exhausted your parental energy onto your siblings. So so what stimulated your desire to want kids now? Is that because you've revitalized that energy because you're so far removed from that? Like, what is it?
No. Another reason I didn't want to have kids was also because I saw, like, my real dad was very abusive to my mom.
Oh, no.
And I would never want to be in a relationship and have a child, like, with someone who ever would show those tendencies. And with my ex-husband, there were moments where he was really upset and he wouldn't be able to handle his stress or control his emotions, right? He never, I can say, he never hit me. He never laid a hand on me. No, not at all. But the fact that, you know, I would think, I'm like, he wants to have kids and he's angry about this and he just threw this down, right? Or he just punched something because he's so angry. And it's like, I don't want to raise a child in that. So it was more of a deterrent for me. In my current relationship, my husband is very different. He's 4 years older than me. He's mature. He's really smart. And I think what has ignited in me, it's like, I'm working so hard to leave a legacy. I want to leave my mark in the world. But what good is it if I have nothing to pass on to leave, you know, to continue that legacy? Yeah. You know, and at first, honestly, it was in my 20s, it was my shallowness of like, I don't want my, you know, I'm Latina, my hips are going to get huge, I'm going to get big.
Twerking on the bar and shit. Trying to go through the bar, you want to come in the room and be like, yo, I still got it. You don't want to expire the vanity. I get it.
Yeah, listen, and I'm just keeping it real because but that was my shallowness. And at that point, that was what was important to me. Yeah. And now that I feel like I have so much to be able to share with a baby and just be able to take care of them and help them be a great human being to change the world and continue the work that, you know, continue the legacy that my husband and I are currently building. Like, we want to make the world a better place. We want to highlight, you know, we want to change the world through the different vehicles that we have going on. You know, that's what happened. And it's maturity too. You know what I mean? Like, it's maturity. Like, it's like, I love my husband, but I'm like, it would be so great if I could have something of him. God forbid something happened. My husband was a pilot. Yeah. There were so many occasions. He's lost so many friends that it was like a difference of like they went on a flight that he did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you begin to think about those things, and it's like, oh my God, if I ever lost him, like I wouldn't have anything also of us, right? And it just my world changed.
You know what's crazy? Like, I've always said this, like, again, and I always have to preface this because people always like harp on me for generalizing. I don't really care, but I'll phrase my words in a way that everyone can understand where I'm coming from. In my opinion, I feel as though a lot of ladies who say, not just ladies, but even men too, who say they don't want children, I think a percentage of the reason is because they don't know what it looks like to be in a relationship that could support children.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
I didn't grow up with that role model.
Right. Exactly. So one, you don't see a proper example of raising children comfortably, right? Mm-hmm. Or you don't see examples of a partner where you would be a good teammate. Because I think a lot of people, when they think of having children, depending on their experience, they might think it's a solo endeavor, right? Having children, especially for women, they think, oh, I don't want to have kids. I'm going to do this, da. But they're not thinking about like the level of loving support and growth they might have in that process. But There's no real examples of that. And the kind of communities that we have are so compartmentalized that people don't have like a vivid image of what that really looks like. And I think, what you said is very powerful because your previous experience definitely played a role in that. Yeah. But like, I would imagine like you coach women, you coach men, I'm assuming too.
Yes.
Right. So you coach men. So in the space of like being divorced and getting back into the world of dating, and I would love to see your Match.com profile, see what you wrote on there. I don't want to lose my body, so don't be over here thinking you putting a baby in me. I imagine that's how you sounded like. So anyway, so my question to you is like, although you had your experience, right? Mm-hmm. You coach and encounter people that came from divorce, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you feel like the advice you give them is reminiscent of your experience, or does the advice have to now change given what people are experiencing today? Like, is there a difference, or is it much of the same?
I would say it's much of the same. And I'm going to add a little context in that answer. When you look at what data shows in terms of why relationships end, right?
Yeah.
The top 3 reasons: money, right? Irreconcilable differences and so forth, right? When you really break it down to when you're in a relationship or in a marriage and you're living through the day in and day out, right? That's what really can either make a relationship, or it can really chip away at a relationship.
Yeah.
So me having the experience, often when I coach based on what science and what research and what tools work out there. For example, like I'm a facilitator for the 7 key principles that make a marriage work, which is based off of Dr. John and Julie Gottman's work. And I'm a facilitator, and I utilize those tools to be able to help.
7 key. What?
7 key principles to making a marriage work.
You're gonna shout those out later?
Huh?
You're gonna shout those out later?
I can shout them out.
But go ahead.
So, on that note, I use my personal story to be able to share with the clients. Like, let me share a little bit about what happened to me or what I went through or this experience. And what I find is that a lot of clients, at the end of the day, we see similarities. And I think the best example of this is movies. Why is it that people are drawn to a very specific type of genre? As movies have been created, right? Like you have a hero's journey underlying any storyline.
Okay.
And we identify ourselves in different parts of that hero's journey. So I use my experience to be able to help my clients identify themselves where they are, and to let them know that that it's okay that they feel how they feel, because it's normal.
Okay. You help them kind of like accept how they feel about certain things, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, if we can't change it, what else is there? Are you just gonna, that's when you stay stuck. That's when you get stuck.
Okay. So with that said, since you're in the spirit of helping clients, I have a couple questions from my audience. I want you to try to answer.
Okay.
And then we're going to get to the 7 principles. Right? So I got a couple questions that came in. This one's interesting. This says, if a guy takes long, wrong one. She said, keep it 100. If you are in a relationship or dating someone and it's getting exclusive, I don't know what getting exclusive means, but
I was just going to say that.
I'm like, what?
Is it exclusive or it's not exclusive?
Is exclusivity an infection? Like, what are we doing? You already know where my answer's at. And things are getting exclusive, but they don't ever post you. Is that really a red flag for girls to worry about? I'm assuming posting you on social media.
Social media and relationships. This is where I will tell you that my advice changes.
Okay.
Because when I was dating, yes, social media was around. We had MySpace. I was in
MySpace. Oh God.
You know, MySpace. I had barely opened up a Facebook
The blog
account.
of social media. What's your background? Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Apparently I'm old
all right.
as hell.
To answer your audience member's question, is it a red flag if we're kind of getting exclusive and he's not posting me or she's not posting me? I say the first conversation that needs to happen there is, what are you involved in? Are you guys in an exclusive relationship where you guys have both of you have talked about what's important to you, you align in certain goals, you know that your life goals are going in similar directions? Like, what are you?
Yeah.
Are you a boyfriend? Are you a girlfriend?
Okay.
Because I know a lot of people don't like titles, and that's something that people just, I don't want to put a title on it. But the truth of it is, you kind of do want a title. Everybody at some point wants a title. And the moment that you are really honest with yourself about that's what you really want, then that's the moment that you need to express that and say, look, I want this to be exclusive. I want to be your girlfriend, or I want to be, your boyfriend. Because what essentially they're asking for is like, I want to know that I'm a priority to you.
Sure.
So that's the first piece is I think you have to define, are you exclusive or are you still dating one another and you're not exclusive and you guys are open to dating other people? In terms of social media is a very private item. If a person doesn't choose to share their partner on social media, that's what they do. That's their right. But they should give you a reasoning that is something that you're okay with.
Okay.
Such as, listen, I'm going to give you an example. There are people I had a client who works for the FBI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's an agent. He's out in the field. He doesn't post some of his partners or whatever. He doesn't even post really pictures of his kids. He just posts here and there.
Yeah.
He wants to remain connected, but it's a safety thing, right? Yeah. That's understandable. Now, if it's just because this person gives you a lame excuse, I think you got to go back to the first conversation. What are you? Because if he's like, well, I just don't post girls on my social media. I just don't post guys. Like, we ain't like that. And it's like, then what are we? Because I don't want to be wasting my time, especially if you're looking for a relationship.
I hear you. Here's where I'm at.
Oh, take a sip of that water because I know it's coming.
Now, there's nothing in what you're saying is wrong, right? And I'm not in the presence of like disagreement, but like, I think another question I would ask her, and for her to ask herself, what is it about social media that is important to you? What does it mean to you to be posted? Right?
priority.
Hold on. Is it an ego thing? Right? Where it's like you want to be claimed through this platform? Is that important to you because of that? Is that your signal of exclusivity in the world that you live in? Right? Because there are people who got all kinds of pictures on social media, doesn't necessarily mean they're exclusive to anybody. Right? So is that like how you communicate exclusivity or a stage in a relationship? You need to ask yourself why. Right? Because there are some people where I want to be on your post, right? I want to be on your post, and the guy posts or she posts, but it doesn't necessarily change how they move. Right? So that's why you got to ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish in doing that? Right? The next thing I would say is the person who's on social media, right? How much is social media part of their life?
Yes.
Right?
I was just about to say that.
Because there are some people like myself, even though I force myself to be active on there because I'm trying to engage in this world, with what I'm trying to do here, as well as also trying to be modern or whatever. But I'm just so anyway, you got to ask yourself, are you asking someone to do something that to them, they might not even look at as important, and you might be exposing what your priorities are versus what is actually going on in the relationship? You got to ask yourself that too, right? If you guys are both social media people, you guys are on the same page with what it means to be on each other's social media, then sure. But I just feel like social media introduced a different way of promoting your relationship. Whereas before it's like, I claim this woman, I give thy the ring. You know what I mean? Now it's like, promote me. You know what I mean? Promote me. And that's perfectly fine, but you got to ask yourself why, right? And the other thing is where you mentioned you and I had this conversation before online about the DTR, and I made the statement you shouldn't ever have to have the DTR conversation if you're actively communicating in the relationship. But on top of that, what I'll also add is you got to be careful with your desire to want titles, because the title is not what's important versus what the definition of them is.
Yes.
Okay. Because someone could say, you're exclusive, but that person might mean I might be exclusively having sex with you, but are you okay? I might be exclusively having sex with you, but I'm not exclusively dating you, right? Or I could be exclusively dating you, but I have some friends with benefits on the side, right? Or you could say I'm your boyfriend or I'm your girlfriend, but I'm still liking other people's pics. To them, that's okay. That's normal. You see what I mean? So the titles, I think when people say, he gave me this title, and because of the definition that it means to me, I feel safe, when in reality, you don't really know what it means to them.
Right. Which is why you have to have I know we are not on the same page about this, but you have to have the DTR conversation. It may not be defining it are we boyfriend and girlfriend, but you're in a relationship with someone else where you have to define the rules of engagement.
Yes,
that's
of course.
The truth of it.
Of course, but I don't think it happens in the DTR conversation. I think you are actively communicating over the course of your relationship. And I said it before, and I'll say it here, for those who didn't hear it, if you have to have a DTR conversation, you failed at communicating from the moment you met with the person. And that's my opinion, right? Because to me, I think conversations happen in stages. When you meet the person, you should be open and honest about what you're looking for, what your intentions are, and so on and so forth. To me, that's the DTR conversation that kickstarts every conversation you're going to have from here on out, right? And then you can express how you feel, what you want, what you desire. But if you're having to, if you're with somebody for 4 months, 4 years, then it just doesn't, it doesn't merit the right thing. But that's my thought process on it. What you're saying is not wrong. I just think there's an additional layer to it that is not explore.
But I think there's also an assumption that you're operating from, right? And that's assuming that people who are getting into relationships have these great communication skills.
Right.
If a person doesn't have the right, if they're not someone like yourself who's constantly seeking, and obviously the people listening right now, they're people who are seeking to learn more on themselves, but we don't know where they are on that journey.
Yeah,
sometimes you're just in the beginning of that journey. And so it's like, okay, I feel this way about a person. I don't know what, I had a relationship where the guy was in love with me and he broke up with me. And then he told me, like a year later, he told me, he's like, I was in love with you. And I'm still in love with you. This was a long time ago. And I just didn't know how to express it. I had never been in a real relationship.
You out here breaking hearts.
Say again?
You out here breaking hearts. You're a whole heartbreaker. You had no problems getting back out here in these streets. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. You know, right? He's not here. You probably broke a lot of hearts. There's a graveyard of men with broken hearts beyond the horizon.
Not that much, but there were moments. But again, I go back and I just say, I think it depends on where that own person's communication skills, their ability to be able to identify and regulate their own emotions and express them.
Okay. All right. So I have one more question. Right? Okay. And in the spirit of you wanting kids, this question might be a good one for you. She says, I don't know why she phrased it this way. What are some secretive advice that you would give your young daughter if she was dating in this generation to help her find a husband?
Secretive advice.
Secretive. I don't know why it needs to be secretive, but hey, I guess because you're a spy.
All right. So some advice that I would give my daughter if she was dating in today's generation, in today's era, in today's modern dating landscape is, I would say two big pieces of advice. First and foremost is anything that you put out there into the world, social media, don't forget that it can always come back around and be misinterpreted. And the only reason
this is why I say this is why I'm like very low key on there. But all right.
Exactly. Because it's like sometimes I've seen this with young women, they're in they're 19, they're 20, they're acting a fool and they're doing crazy things. And then they get to the age of late 20s where now they're wanting to find a partner. And then it's like, oh, but you look like people make assumptions based off of what you put out there for them. And that's the narrative they create in their mind.
Right.
So be very mindful. The world doesn't need to know everything about your life.
Yeah.
That would be my first piece of advice to my daughter. The second piece of advice to my daughter is I would tell her that to not look at getting into a serious relationship until she's probably early 30s, like 30, 31, 32. And enjoy herself in dating and learning about herself and what she wants in a future partner. That's what I would tell her, because I think too often there's still the fairy tale, or even in these rom-coms of like, oh, I have the career and the guy's going to come and then it's going to be I mean, that storyline is still being presented out into the world. And the truth of it is like, dating is very different. People date because they want to find love. They're not dating because their socioeconomic status depends on it. Because you need a partner to help you, take that next level. Or you need a woman to help you get through, medical school, and she's there to support you and take care of. It's just very different. Yeah. Very different. So those are the two big pieces of advice that I would give my daughter if she was dating in today's world. Is like true and true. Social media always seems to come up. And number two, just be intentional and look at setting that intention when you're in your 30s.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm a little worried about the 30s part though.
Why?
I'm worried about the 30s part because I'm not telling women or men or whoever to get into serious relationships in their early 20s or late 20s. I'm not telling them what to do specifically, but I think if you are waiting until you're in your 30s to get into serious relationships, you have to somehow, in the process of when you're not getting into serious relationships, learn how to be intentional when you do want to get into serious relationships. Because I feel as though when people, for lack of a better word, burn through their 20s, right? They're developing habits, right? Certain habits that even if they decide, okay, I'm going to be in serious relationships when I'm 30, 31, 32, and they don't even know what day it is, right? They don't even know how to even approach that. So no one's saying you have to get in a relationship at any given time, but just know whatever you experience and expose yourself to might play a role into your psyche when you do want to do something different. So just be mindful of that as well. So that's the advice I would give if I had a daughter. But what you said was correct also. I just want to make sure listen, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm going, now this is where I'm going based off, like, if I'm a mom, this is my life experience. Like, honey, I did it in my 20s. Because we also have to remember too, like there are different types of daters. One is the serial monogamous that's been in relationships since they could date, and that's all they know. Yep. And then you have the person who is like what you're describing, someone who potentially has just burned through everything that they wanted to do and hung out, and then next thing you know, like, oh crap, I guess now I have, and they don't have a clue. Now I have to figure out how to relate to people, how to build a foundation of a relationship. Listen, I commend you for your honesty and your forthright to like express the fact that that's what happened. And I'll be honest with you, I think that happens more often than most people think, because oftentimes, proposals are promoted to be like this grandiose thing of like, who had women share their proposal stories. Guys know this, and the guys that want to propose or make an effort to propose, they don't want to be on the the drawer of bad.
Oh, that's what he did?
Yeah. Did he go to, he went to, like, there's literally a campaign that says he went to Jared. Like, they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, but I thoroughly appreciated this conversation, because I feel, that journey you went through kind of walked through the path of a woman who was influenced by so many different things, like, your upbringing, broken home, you having to be a parent prior to you having kids, and entering a relationship that you were probably too young to articulate if you really wanted to be in it and didn't know what to do. And then, I think that journey is fascinating, because oftentimes we only see people are going through life walking up steps towards a destination that is not lit. You understand? So you only see a few steps ahead of you, right? Without knowing where the other steps are leading you. So, and I think that story you just gave, at least for me, I don't know, anybody else can chime in the comments, what it means to learn from someone who had that experience, because in my mind, it kind of opened the door to being able to take control of things that potentially were out of control earlier on in your life. And I commend you for having that experience and growing from it. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to share with the audience that you want to tell them about, some programs that you might have, how they can find you, so on and so forth?
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks, Jeff. I mean, I think this by far has been the most personal interview where I've shared the most personal details. Of
Introspect Club. We can learn a lot about yourself through conversations with other people. You see that voice I just did? That's my That's my sexy voice. That's why I don't have to buy drinks at the bar. I get just talk like this. What's going on?
That's for another story, another day.
Damn, I feel like I'm gonna get reprimanded. All right, go ahead.
Thank you so much, because I really did enjoy, and I hope that for everyone listening, whatever stage of the journey you're in, that there's something about what I shared that resonates with you. And there is no shame. A divorce is not a failure. For a long time, I looked at it that way, and I was so embarrassed. And especially, coming, it's like I had a scarlet letter, and culturally it didn't help either from my family to some extent. But what I will say is, at the end of the day, we got to do what's best for us. One of the items, or one of the questions that I really ask myself, and I find that a lot of people, when they're kind of considering embarking on that dating journey, is they're asking themselves, am I really am I really ready for a serious relationship? Right. And there's just some questions that we have to ask ourselves, like, are you willing to make room for someone in your life? Do you have the time? Do you want to give time and dedicate time to dating? There's just, how much do you know about yourself? Why do you want to be in a relationship? And so I invite everyone to take a quiz that we've put together that'll help you identify what stage of a relationship are you in? Like, what stage are you in? Are you ready for a relationship? Not ready? Or you're like completely like, no, just don't even, just, stay where you're at. So you can find that quiz at incredible-relationship-quiz.com. That's incredible-relationship-quiz.com. And for anyone who wants to get in touch with me, feel free to follow me on all social media at Love by Michelle G. That's at Love by Michelle G. And you're welcome to also visit our website, which is incrediblelove.com.
Right on. Right on. My name is Jeff Damisse. You can find me at J.Damisse. This is for Twitter, Instagram, all that. Well, actually, I think Twitter's J_DAMISSE. I don't even know my own handle. You can also find the Introspect Club at Introspect_Club for IG, for Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. Make sure you guys log on to the Patreon as well, where we're going to have some exclusive content. Also, if you want to have some of your questions answered on the show, like we just did for somebody else, make sure you go into the DMs of the Introspect Club. So next time we're going to have a few more guests that are going to be giving us some juicy information about their lives and how they navigate through this world of socialization and romance. So until next time, folks, Michelle G, this was a pleasure, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I did. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. Until next time.